Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. The Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else while I try and drag this whole mental health thing back to where it's supposed to be. Now, today, I want to first apologize for no episode last week. With it being Easter, I was saddled with all of the dogs and cats, and I had no free time. That's it. This week, I do want to take a look at the Secrets of Strixhaven, in particular, the 5 dragons. So I work with my cousin, and we take our lunch together, and we kept trading like back and forth about things in the set, and we had one day where we talked about the dragons, and we kind of put them in like a range of ones we were most excited for. And technically, my list has changed since then. And so I'm just going to go over them in the order that I am most excited for. And I want to kick that off, not with Lorehold, which was originally my top one, but with Silverquill, the Disputant, which is 2, a white and a black, for a 4/4 Elder Dragon. It has flying, vigilance, and each instant and sorcery spell you cast has casualty 1. And originally, the casualty 1 didn't quite stack up with everything else, but then I started thinking about white and black tokens and token creating spells. There's a whole archetype built around that. And then you double that with like aristocrat triggers, and you just Silverquill ends up being just the best go wide strategy you can do with spells that originally you probably wouldn't have wanted to play, just because like getting a one-off token isn't that great. But if you're making multiple tokens, then you have those tokens to sacrifice to the casualty trigger, making more multiple tokens, and then you just, double that up with the things that double tokens or triple tokens. And I feel like this deck actually has legs, you know what I mean? But that said, moving on to the second one, which was originally the one I was most excited for, is Lorehold the Historian. Which is 3, a red and a white, for a 5/5 Elder Dragon with flying and haste. Each instant and sorcery card in your hand has Miracle 2. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So I liked this because originally it's a new play style for Boros. You know what I mean? It's not equipment. It's not necessarily turn things sideways. I just want to put the biggest, baddest, like 12 mana instants and sorceries as I can into this deck. And, finally bite the bullet and buy like a scroll rack. I really like this new play style that you're going to see in red and white. But again, moving on from that brings us to Witherbloom the Balancer, which is 6 green black for a 5/5 Elder Dragon with affinity for creatures, flying, death touch, and instant and sorcery spells you cast have affinity for creatures. So, again, my thought, very much similar to Silverquill, was like, oh, well, if you just make a bunch of tokens, that makes all of your things really cheap. But then I got to thinking, she is a deck that I actually want to prioritize creature ramp, like Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic, those kind of things, to get Witherbloom out faster, because for every one of those, you're taking 2 off of her mana cost. And then, yeah, sure, you still could do, like, a go-wide strategy with some, like, token creation. but I feel like you're more, or at least the way I'm looking at it, is I'm leaning more reanimator. So, hear me out. How many reanimation spells are like 6 or 7 mana? It's just a ton of mana and like a black. Well, what if we just turned every single one of those into just a regular reanimate? That seems the most like what I would do with it. But yeah, I'd put that at like where I'm third most excited for. And moving on to the next one, we're looking at Quandrix the Proof, which is 4 a green and a blue for a 6/6 Elder Dragon with Flying and Trample and Cascade. And then instant and sorcery spells you cast from your hand have Cascade. So, this is honestly kind of boring for me. Green, blue doing Cascade things. It's a playstyle that it's had for a long time. That said, it is still very powerful. I don't quite know what I would do with it because I don't really have an inkling to like build it. And that's kind of doubly true for the final one that I'm least excited for, which is Prismari the Inspiration, which is the one that everybody lost their head about because it has the word storm on it. But it's 5, a blue and a red for a 7/7 Elder Dragon with Flying, Ward, pay 5 life. Instant and sorcery spells you cast have storm. So, it's fine. The truth of the matter is, if anybody interacts with it the first time you try and cast it, how are you supposed to then pay 9 and then 11? So, like, if you have ways of like cheating this in, I guess, like, you just put like the dragon that can like rip your commander into play, tap and attacking, or like Geode Golem to try and get that through to like just get around paying for your commander. But it's not a playstyle I care to explore. But yeah, so that's where I'm going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to talk about. But I'll be right back. And we're back. Now, to many people who know me, understand that blue is not my favorite color in Magic. It's very much the color of control, and that is my least favorite playstyle. Not to say I can't do it, but it is not something I expressly try to do. And a lot of times when I do build control decks, I tend to deviate from blue and go more in the black plus X variety. So, like, I have a Planeswalker control deck that's Golgari. And, yeah, that's not to say I don't use blue. I still have my old Adeliz the Cinderwind deck, and that deck uses counterspells to help protect the thing it's trying to do, which is, like, get out 5 or so wizards and then just dump a ton of instants and sorceries to, like, multiply their power and one-shot people. But I do like having options in blue that aren't just, I have 13 counter spells, can you win? And so I was looking at like a mono blue artifact Voltron deck. And the commander for the deck is Donatello, Way with Machines. It's 2 and a blue for a 1/2 mutant ninja turtle with flying, and whenever an artifact you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on Donatello. Now, the card that originally made me want to try and build this is actually a background Clan Crafter, which is 1 and a blue for a background. And it says, commander creatures you own have pay 2, sack an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and draw a card. I haven't decided whether I want to try and rule 0 this as the background for Donatello, but the gist is play artifacts, particularly artifacts that make more artifacts, sacrifice them, which will help me draw into more artifacts, and then just, smack people with a flying whatever. So I don't have a ton of this deck together yet, but I do have a few cards I know I want in there. And we'll start with Panharmonicon. So it's a 4-mana artifact. If an artifact or creature entering causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So again, Donatello has, when an artifact enters, you put a counter on him. So now you would instead get 2 counters. It just, makes a ton of sense here. But that's not the only way we have to do something like that. We also have Lithoform Engine, which is a 4-mana legendary artifact. You can pay 2 and tap to copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You can choose new targets for the copy. So we can do that. Or we can pay 3 and tap to copy target instant and sorcery spell. Choose new targets for the copy. Or we can pay 4 and tap to copy target permanent spell I control. So for 2 mana, I can copy his ability to put a counter on himself. Or for 4 mana, I can make a copy of an artifact that's on the stack. It just kind of builds itself from there. We want continuous token making with things like Thopter Spy Network, which is 2 blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control an artifact, you make a 1/1 colorless Thopter. And whenever one or more artifact creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. We have Whirler Rogue, which is 2 blue for a human rogue artificer, 2/2. When it enters, you make 2 1/1 colorless Thopters, and you can tap 2 untapped artifacts you control to make a creature unblockable. We have Psy Master Thopterist, which is 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human artificer. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you make a 1/1 Thopter. And you can pay 1 and a blue to sacrifice 2 artifacts to draw a card. You have the Mirror Battlesphere, which is a 7-mana 4/7 mirror construct. When it enters, you make 4 1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens. Whenever it attacks, you can tap X, untap mirror you control. If you do, this creature gets +X/+0 to end a turn and deals X damage to target player or planeswalker it's attacking. Okay, next up, we have the Mechan Assembler, 4 and a blue for a 4/4 robot artificer. Whenever another artifact you control enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. This ability triggers only once per turn. We have the Stride Hanger Automaton, which is a 3-mana construct, 1/4. Thopters you control get +1/+1. And if one or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 Thopter are created instead. Then we have the Thopter Fabricator, which is 2 and a blue for a 4/4 vehicle with flying. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you make a 1/1 Thopter artifact creature token. It has Crew 2. And then we have the Aetheric Amplifier, which is a 3-mana artifact that is a mana rock, taps for 1 mana of any color. And then you can pay 4 and tap it to choose one, activate only. As a sorcery, you can double the number of each kind of counter on target creature, or you can double the number of each kind of counter you have. So that's there to just multiply his counters. If he's, under 21, you just double the counter so he's over 21. Oh, right. Next, let's talk about mana reduction stuff. So things like Ethereum Sculptor, which is 1 and a blue for 1/2 Vidalcan Artificer. Artifact spells are 1 less to cast. Foundry Inspector is a 3 mana, 3/2 construct. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then I'm just kind of down into some generic good stuff. So first up we have the Retrofitter Foundry, which is a 1 mana artifact. You can pay 3 to untap it. You can pay 2 and tap it to make a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. You can pay 1 and tap it to sacrifice the servo to create a 1/1 colorless Thopter. And you can tap it to sacrifice a Thopter to make a 4/4 colorless construct artifact creature token. So the main thing we're going to be trying to do with this is paying the 3 to untap it and turn Thopters from 1/1s into 4/4s. Next up, we have a land, the Treasure Vault, which is in itself an artifact land. It taps for colorless, and you can pay XX and tap it to sacrifice it and make X treasure tokens. Then we have the Spellcraft Mechan, 3 and a blue, for a 3/4 robot artificer. When it enters, you can sacrifice an artifact. If you do, you put a counter on target creature and draw a card. Next up, we have the Shimmer Mirror, which is 3 mana for a 2/2 mirror with flash, and you may cast artifact spells as though they had flash. Next, we have the Curious Inquiry, which is a single blue for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and have whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, investigate. Now, with this one, I have to put a disclaimer because there's actually multiple versions of this card. This is just the one I have pulled right now. Scrap Trawler, which is a 3 mana, 3/2 construct. Whenever it or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with a lesser mana value. So the way this loop works is with Scrap Trawler and then one that's lesser mana than Scrap Trawler that can just get back anything, and then a sack outlet. So say it's Krark Clan Ironworks, so you can sacrifice the Trawler, make 2 mana, get back Mirror Retriever, sacrifice the Mirror Retriever, go up to 4 mana, get back the Scrap Trawler. You now have 4 mana. Use the 3 mana to cast the Scrap Trawler. Then you sacrifice it, going up to 3 mana, get back. So it's a way to infinitely loop the two to make infinite colorless mana. Yeah. So anyway, and to round out just the cards that I have pulled for right now, I just have an Academy Ruins sitting around. It's a legendary land. It taps for colorless. You can pay 1 and a blue and tap it to put target artifact card from your graveyard on top of your library. And yeah, that's kind of where I am so far with the deck. It's nothing terribly backbreaking. It's just going to be, hey, can you deal with this thing? And that isn't to say there won't be some counter magic. It's just there's not going to be a ton of counter magic. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to wrap up for today. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulvey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending. along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.